morning and welcome to another edition of Community Issues, December 31st, 2017, last show of 2017. I have four distinguished guests. Today's topic of discussion is women in leadership, and who do we have here? We have Ms. Candice Davis, Rashada Dixon, Ann Clay, Marcella Perkins. Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good morning.
And happy Christmas Eve. New Year's Eve. Christmas Eve was last Sunday. Okay. And about 10 more hours, it'll be the New Year. So, women in leadership. I'm going to start off with Candice and just talk about, what is it that you do? Just briefly talk about your background.
My background is crisis and social work, and currently I am the program manager at Rockford, so I oversee their child and adolescent inpatient facilities and units. So we're working on their clinical programming as well as working with the staff to make sure that they're a little more trauma focused and things of that nature. I'm also an adjunct instructor at Wilmington University. I've been there for about 4 years. I teach intro to psychology, I teach group dynamics, introduction to trauma-informed approaches, and practical applications in trauma-informed approaches. And I'm also a travel agent, so.
And don't forget Teen Summit.
Yes, and I'm co-chair of Teen Idol. I've been doing that I've been co-chair for 2 years, and I've been working with the committee for about 10. And then I also work with Duffy's Hope and Frank with the Hollywood Invades Delaware Celebrity Weekend that takes place, and then working with AIDS Delaware also for their Youth and Family Summit that they put on in December.
All right, Rashada.
Okay. Again, Rashada Dixon. I am a city council member at large in the city of Wilmington. Have been doing that. This will be hopefully my first year over. So we got 3 more to go. But had loved the ups and downs and the turns and the laughters and everything that came with it this year as a learning experience for working in the city of Wilmington. And I wouldn't change it for the world. So I'm excited to be able to say that I represent the city of Wilmington. I am also a business owner, so I own my own RD Innovative Planning Community Development Consulting firm, where our mission is to help make sure that business owners, entrepreneurs, and nonprofits are able to deliver their services at their highest level to the community. And that's done through contracting with different nonprofits, business owners, and entrepreneurs to kind of make sure that they're able to do things around outreach or advocacy for an organization. If they're working on project management as well as event planning, I've been helping out a lot of agencies in the city of Wilmington do that, as well as Newcastle County and Kent County. And then I also volunteer probably a whole lot more than a lot of times that I want to, but I have a passion for people, so I wound up falling in love with whatever they decide to do and wound up there helping out in some capacity. And then I also am now teaching for the first time at University of Delaware as an adjunct professor, teaching Intro to Social Entrepreneurship this spring. So exciting.
All right, Ms. Ann Clay. Ooh, man, this is getting exciting.
Yes, this is very exciting. I'm Ann Clay, and I am currently teaching and leading in the Christina School District, which is the largest school district in our state. I'm honored to be an educator of 23 years, most of that time down here in Delaware, also in Pennsylvania. But my goals at this point, after finishing with the University of Delaware principal preparation program just this December, is to be an assistant principal, then leading to principal. But I'd also like to make a difference in our district and our state in the central office, where making an impact and influencing changes and growth and progress and achievement of all of our kids across district-wide.
Well, okay, and author.
I'm Elizabeth Perkins, talk show host, just coming in out of this year and going into a new year with a new show, and I'm very thankful for that. And I am an author and self-publishes. I'm going into self-publishing. It's easier for me to go that route because I know what my itinerary is. I'm always busy, so I have to make, provisions for myself to be ready at certain times. And I'm the founder of Crimes Against Women and Children right here in Wilmington, Delaware with my organization. And I help with different community churches and businesses like Mary Mother Hope and the Bayard House and Sunday Breakfast Mission.
And then what's the name of your show and when does it come on?
My show is called Around Town with Elizabeth Perkins, and we do a lot of entertainment, but I also have really nice things coming up, especially working with some kids and doing some really fun stuff on the show.
Okay, I want to stay with you, Marcella. All four of you ladies have very impressive resumes, and I'm quite sure that there's been some people or someone in your lives that help you, guide you to be in the position that you are in today. So who are some of the people that inspire you to be the wonderful ladies that you are today? Let's start off with Marcella.
Well, Omar, I was inspired first by my husband. He inspired me to write when I didn't want to do it. He was like, babe, you can do it, and this is going to help a lot of people. So I was inspired by him, and then as I was coming into the birth of me, I was introduced to you. And then with you, I mean, you catapulted me. You don't know how much you catapulted me. You put me in the slingshot and went, pew! And then
Wow,
there
okay.
I was,
I
you
did all
know.
that.
You had me on your show. I'm going to tell you, Omar, you don't know what you did. You
Okay.
had me on your show. You had me in all of your plays since you met me. And then, you know, you had me co-hosting with you. I mean, when I say catapulted, you put that little pebble in there and went, boom! And here I am. A lot of women that inspired me was my mother-in-law. She was a master sergeant and in the National Guards, and she was also the head of ICU at Christiana Hospital. You know, she passed of cancer, but she was a very big and a very strong role model in my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go down the line, Ann Clay.
All right, that's a loaded question because you're talking about the leadership piece, and obviously you have to have leaders in your life, whether they be female or male, to set those examples for you from the time I was born. So my mother, of course, and father were huge role models for leadership. Excuse me, leadership not only in the workplace but also in the community. And so therefore, you know, that was ingrained within me from a very young age, that it's not just about my world, excuse me, it's not just about my world, but it's also the world around me. And I need to make a better choices and better decisions for not just myself, but for those around myself. I was a teacher for 21 years before I even thought that it was time to move into a more distinctive leadership role in education, which is interesting because most leaders might start out, 5 years after teaching or 10 years after teaching. I really truly valued being in the classroom, and I thought that was the place that I was really supposed to be. And actually the guidance on that is a higher being on that one. I was led by God to, like I said, to do more than just what I could do in one space or even the building that I'm currently in. I feel like there's an impact on all children that is not yet being addressed, not just in my own district, that's just unfortunately nationwide, that every child is not getting what they deserve when they walk in that classroom every day. And so I feel like it's part of my mission to make sure that, like I said, more than 20 some children get the best that they deserve every day.
Okay.
So.
I would probably say start off with definitely my parents. They are behind me 100% for pretty much everything I've done. I haven't had a job that I haven't liked over the course of my life, and the one that I did have that I didn't like, I quit it within a week. But like my parents have been, and especially my dad, he would always say, I need you to go into government, go into government. My first job was working on a Marine base in D.C. 18 years old was a great job, but it wasn't something that I loved doing.
Right.
And he never would have thought that I would go into politics side of government, which I think for him was a little more shocking as far as what I wanted to do. But he came to a point where he supported me the whole way through, and now I think really understands why the importance of going into this type of leadership role for myself. And most of the time, my parents also know that for my age, I'm usually doing a lot more than what the normal 31-year-old is doing. I've accomplished a lot within those years, and it's all because of the support of them. But I didn't really think that I was a leader until I went into public allies. And I did public allies here in Delaware, and it changed my life completely. I felt that's where I had my first on-the-ground experience working in communities, and I haven't left since. Southbridge was the first community I worked in 2009, and I'm still there today, just because they helped groom me into also a leader also, and then also they were some of the push for running for city council. So I have made it an effort to make sure that I have mentors in all different sectors so that they can kind of help motivate me and mold me into leadership in those different ways, and it's helped me tremendously. And I definitely would say to any young person to definitely do that, because it's definitely something that will impact your life differently.
Okay, so I'm listening to everyone, and I have a traditional answer, but I also have like a non-traditional answer as well. So traditionally, of course, my mother, she was a single parent and worked her way up and is amazing. And I think as I was a teen, I was probably not as happy with some of the decisions that she was making for me at that time. But as I've gotten older and become a mother, I understand why she was making those decisions for me, and she is now extremely supportive of me as I've gotten older and started making better decisions for myself. My grandfather was very influential for me as a young child. He was one of the first blacks that graduated from Harvard. He was a doctor in our small town. I could still go back to my hometown and people say, oh, you're Dr. Davis's granddaughter, and things of that nature. I mean, he spoke several languages fluently, like Latin and Greek and French, and he spoke proper grammar. So, I mean, he just instilled a lot of things in me that I carry on to this day. And for me, I never wanted to disappoint him. So even now that he is no longer with us, I still sometimes sit back and reflect and hope that, I'm making him proud and carrying on the last name of Davis. But one of the other non-traditional answers I would say of people who inspire me to be a leader are the children that I work with, the youth that I work with, my daughter, my son. It is very important for me to show any youth that I encounter that your circumstances at the present time don't and will not dictate where you end up in life. I've surrounded myself, I've been very fortunate and blessed to have a small group, but a wonderful group of supportive friends who we have a wonderful network. I've known Duffy since school, and then that connection put me with Frank, and that allows me to work with the youth through AIDS Delaware and with Wanda and things of that nature. So just knowing the people and having the right network and having those people support you and believing in what you do and allowing you to take your vision and build and work on it and not stifle what you're trying to accomplish. Another person that I worked with, Greg Morris, who's doing phenomenal things in the city right now. I have to say he too encouraged me a lot when it came to teaching, because it was something that I had always toyed with, that idea, but never really had that that push, that oomph that was needed. And he had that connection, and he kind of pushed me, and he was like, listen, CD, you've got what it takes. They need to see more of us in there. And since then, it's been something, and I love being in the classroom. I love helping shape those young minds, and I feel like I learn as much from them as they do from me. So I think I'm inspired by everyone around me to be a leader, even with my mistakes that I make.
Okay, the next couple questions, I'm going to specifically direct this to a couple people so we can try to get as much as possible. several months ago, I did a show on African American men in leadership, and one of the questions I asked is, what are the qualities that make a good leader or a successful leader? Rashima, what is your response? What qualities should a leader possess, or what makes a good leader?
I would probably say definitely authenticity. Somebody who is honest can also lead and follow. There's moments where I think we, as especially sometimes women in leadership, we can't say, sometimes we don't apologize even when it is sometimes our fault. And I think sometimes we say it's taboo that you're not supposed to apologize for something, but in reality, it's okay to say you're wrong, right? And to be able to say you're wrong is to say that you see something that happened, you responded to it, and you actually had some follow through. And for me, I think it's more if I can see somebody who's real, who's honest, who understands, doesn't have all the answers, but is willing to continuously learn at all times. And I think any leader can, at any age, can lead because somebody has something that they can learn from somebody else.
Marcella, the challenges that women face when they're in leadership positions. I remember, you look at Hillary Clinton. She ran for presidency, and there were some challenges that she had to face as being a woman. And particularly, she really should have been the first woman president of the United States. But that's a debatable thing. You look at Michelle Obama, the first African American woman and first lady. Just because of who she was, she faced some challenges. Through your own personal experience and through women that you have talked to, what are some of the challenges that a woman face? Because I'm a man, I can look at it from a man standpoint, but
Right.
you all are women, so you know a lot more than I do.
Well, from my standpoint, it's a little different than the panels because I grew up in foster care.
Okay.
And I grew up knowing a lot of children that didn't have mothers and fathers, and
Right.
I was blessed to have Mr. Joseph and Rosalind Ellis that brought me up and taught me how to pray, and that was, to me, that was giving me the biggest gift because I come from molestation and taken away from my parent at a young age and then being with foster care, and to just know that you have someone that's saying you can do this and you don't have the connections to do this. You have to believe in yourself. You have to be humble. You have to really, for me, you have to have God. God is the biggest tool that you have when you pray and you humble yourself and you believe that you can do it. You have to keep pushing forward in life. I didn't have this one, and I had great people in my life. And as I came through, I got to know Supreme Court Judge Alex Smalls, but he was a lawyer then. I was a survivor also through rape, so
Right.
he was there, and that gave me guidance. So God was forever putting people in my life, and I didn't have the ties to connect with this one and that one, so I did it by myself. I said, you know what, I'm going to give back to my community because my community has done so much for me. If it wasn't for the Anderson Hicks Center, I wouldn't know how to swim.
Right.
So I look at these things and I take them on and I cherish them. And for me to have all these great memories that I want to share with other children, and they inspire me. Again, the children that I work with or the people that I work with, they inspire me to say I have to take this to another level because my path is already set. God already set the path. I just have to stay on it and don't sway from it. With women out here and you're doing your thing, and it kind of gets hard because situations, I don't want to say man-made situations, but man-made situations, men can make it hard for you to step into the arena being a woman. You have to push forward. You have to not be able to compromise yourself. You have to keep your dignity and push forward because you already know where you're headed. And if you continuously do that, people can be great
And you may have to fight just as hard just to get
Yeah.
the equal pay that a man gets.
Equal pay, yeah. But that's why for me, I built myself, so
Right.
I pay myself. I build my own business, so I pay myself. So I make it feasible for me to make money, so I don't have to go and punch a clock.
And Candice and Ann, you too, you work in the educational field, and you also work with Teen Summit, Team Idol, and you work with youth as well. Do you see yourselves as a positive role model for younger women, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old? That they see the success that you two ladies are doing and all the wonderful work that you're doing in the community? Did you ever sit back and take the time to say, hey, I want to be a role model for the young girls?
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah. Just go now.
I haven't actually sat back and put that title on myself to be a role model, but I'm very cautious with all of my actions in that someone is always watching. And I use the phrase, the third eye is always watching, and you never know. And I put myself in the position that my daughter or any other person that is watching my moves, would I want them to replicate these moves and do that? And if not, then I very typically will not do that. So maybe subconsciously I take on that role, but I would never give myself that title because I know I have my flaws that that I'm still working on because I'm human. And maybe if they see that too, they'll understand that it's okay, and none of us are perfect, and that, you know, working on yourself is probably the greatest accomplishment that any of us can have and can, you know, work on while we're growing daily. But I would hope that the young people that are watching what I do would think that following in my path, at least one of the paths that I've taken, would be a good road to take.
All right. Yeah.
I think I have to piggyback on what everybody said here. It really isn't something that we reflect on. I think part of it is being a female. I mean, I'd like to say that's part of our makeup is we're not horn blowers and, you know, tooting our own horn type individuals in general. And so, you know, our mission or our, you know, our thought process or our vision is not, you know, for us to be the focus in meaning just in general. But of course, you know, I guess the piece for me is the integrity, which is very similar to what's been said already. If I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing at all times, and if I'm in the right light, you know, in a positive light at all times, you know, that's what is conveyed to my students, to other adults. You know, sometimes I'm in situations where, you know, there are people that don't have the same kind of thinking that, you know, that I have about education or what's best for kids. There are other motives in place and all kinds of things that are going on. And so it's really important, again, for me to hold true to myself, you know, and what am I supposed to be doing? And it's difficult because there are, like, the challenges. That's a challenge that, you know, there's money involved. When I say that, you know, you know, education, you know, is funded by money. There's other factors that are in place. There's people's jobs on the line. There are all kinds of things that are in place. And so, you know, it's really important for me to hold true to, you know, this is what I do what I say, and I say what I do. And then again goes to keeping God first. I have to. You know, it's not, you know, cakes and pies, as people like to think, you know, as teachers and educators. It's a real challenge, you know, for some days, and not just for us, but for the students. And I would like to just, sorry, I feel like I need to go on a tangent, but I think these ladies have brought out some things, you know, about the students that we're actually serving. Okay, we're serving students that have experienced trauma. We're serving students that may not have had a meal since the last time they entered school. You know, so as educators and leaders, our job is to sometimes be that person who makes sure they're fed, or that's the focus. or to, give them hugs. They need that more than they need their academics.
Okay, we have about a minute and a half remaining. So, Rashima, you have any closing comments you want to say to young women who are watching today and have future aspirations of becoming lawyers, doctors, scientists, or whatever?
I would definitely say, and I've been telling a lot of young women lately, I've been mentoring a lot of more younger females as well. I am the youngest African American female in the state of Delaware as an elected official, and that shouldn't be the case. And I would love to bring in more people, because people were double my age who brought me in.
Right.
So I definitely want to mentor, and anybody who wants to go into politics or any other leadership roles, welcome to reach out to me for that.
Okay, ladies, on that note, we're going to end today's program. It went real fast.
Yes.
Thank you all for coming on, and Happy New Year to all four of you.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you. Happy New Year to you too.
And thank you for tuning in to another edition of Community Issues. I'll be back next Sunday with the next edition of Artists. Peace and have a safe and blessed New Year.